Hello guys, and welcome to my very first video of 2023. I'm excited because it is another book video and we are going to be discussing my December reading wrap up. I was able to read 6 books again in the month of December, so I was very excited. Didn't really think I'd be able to read that much because of the holidays, but I was able to fit quite a bit in, and some of these books are pretty big, so that's exciting too. I have some very strong feelings about a lot of these books, so I'm just gonna get right into it so I can tell you about them. The first book that I read is There's Something About Mary. I gave this 3 stars. This is just like, okay, I was expecting this to be like a cute Christmas, cringy a little bit book, and it was all those things, but it was also shockingly extremely spicy, but at the very end. And I just feel like this cover is super deceiving with the spice level. I read some words I don't think I've like really read before, and that was just a shocker in this book. Also, there was some weird aspects to the book, but other than those 2 things, it was like cute and fun. This is about a woman named Mary Winters who lives in a town called Mistletoe. So if that tells you cringe level, there you go. She and her family own a Christmas tree farm, and Clark, he comes onto the farm to work, and he has a son, so he's a single parent. So there is the single parent trope if you're interested in that. And they kind of obviously have some kind of relationship. There's obviously some drama. That's basically this book. It was also over 400 pages, so I just don't ever really see a need for a little cringy romance to be over 400 pages. Like 250 pages, maybe 300, I'm good to go. This was just like, there was too much going on in this book. I definitely don't recommend this for a Christmas book. Like, this wouldn't be my top choice to recommend, but it was, I still had like fun reading parts of it, if that makes sense. But I give this a 3 stars. I would even maybe think more about like a 2.5 stars, but that's the first one I read. The next book that I did read is the second book in the ACOTAR series, and this is A Court of Mist and Fury. And this is a hunker, let me tell you. I believe it's over 600 pages. Yes, it's over 600 pages, so it definitely took me a little bit to get through this, but because of how much I enjoyed it, I was able to get through it pretty quickly. Like I said, this is the second book, and I think there's 5 out currently, and I know she's still writing some, if I'm correct. But I really enjoyed this. A lot of people say that this is their favorite in the whole series. I definitely loved it, but this versus the first one, I would say I loved them equally. I don't think I loved this one more. I really loved the first one too. So I would give them both 5 stars. This was a lot more. You get a lot more with Rhysand, if you know who he is, and so that was really neat. You get more of some of the other courts, which that was really fun. You also get some found family in this one, so I know we're stepping into that, which that's really cool too. And you get more of Feyre's like character development and things like that, and I know we're going to get into more of her sister's character development. I loved this book. I had such a good time. I'm definitely going to dive into more fantasy this year, and I'm very excited to do that because I really enjoy, I feel like fantasy, a lot of fantasy, this is what reading is about, like escaping into this world that obviously would never happen here, but there's also some things you can still relate to, and it's just so interesting, and there's so much going on in a good way. I loved it. Definitely suggest this series if you want to start fantasy. It's easy to read, short chapters. I loved it, and I can't wait to read the 3rd book. The next book that I read is another Christmas book, and this is In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, and I actually love Christina Lauren, which are co-authors, but I rated this book a 2. I really thought I would like this because, again, I love Christina Lauren. I've read 2 of her books, and I loved them both. But it wasn't funny to me like her other books are, and also this is one of those books where there was like a time loop of the same day, and I actually thought I would kind of enjoy that aspect, but it was just like done only in half of the book, and then some other days when she was in the time loop, she was there for like a lot longer time. Like, there was no really system to it that I was expecting, and then there also was some things that went unanswered, and I don't understand how that can happen in a book. So I gave this a 2 stars. Some people love this book. And she also ended up with the guy that I didn't want her to, which I don't know if I've ever read a book where she didn't end up with the guy that I wanted the character to, and she didn't, and so I didn't like that either, so gave it a 2 stars. The next book that I read is, I have not seen one booktuber talk about this book, and this is These Silent Woods, and I freaking love this book. This was 5 stars. It's a very quick read. Are there short chapters? I would say they're like short to medium long chapters, which I love a good short chapter. But I loved this book so much. So this is about a guy who lives out in the woods with his daughter. I believe she's 8 years old when kind of this book is happening, and I just loved it. And you're kind of like trying to figure out why they're out there, why they are kind of obviously not in society. They don't even have electricity and things like that. And so you just are kind of figuring out slowly throughout the book why they're in this situation and if they are going to get out and how. And so I love this book so much because of the mystery, and also, okay, I don't get emotional with books very often, like at all. Movies I can get more emotional with, but I don't know why books, I've never really gotten super emotional. This book made me emotional, and only in one part, very specific part, but I guess because I was so like entrapped in the book that when the part came, I was just like, it made me emotional. I wasn't like bawling or anything, but I definitely like had tears in my eyes, my chest was tight. I suggest this book if you love mystery, and also there was some Christian aspects of the book which I really appreciated, and it just tied it all really well. Loved this book, definitely suggest this. The next book that I read is another Christmas book, and this one is Always in December. And when I picked up this book and I started reading it, I didn't know how many people were saying that this was so sad, again with emotions. When I did start reading this book and I posted it on my Instagram story, someone messaged me and was like, I just need to warn you that the last few chapters are gonna make you like bawl your eyes out. And I was like, okay, like I'm gonna get some emotion out of this book, okay. So it was definitely a cute Christmas book, but I knew there was gonna be some like sadder and real aspects in this, because this is about a woman named Josie, and her parents died when she was a bit younger, and they died around Christmas time, but every year she mails out a letter to them. Obviously it doesn't really go to them, but it's kind of therapeutic. She just says, I'm always loving you, always missing you. And so, but one day she bumps into a guy while she's on her way to put the letter in the mailbox, and she runs into him, and of course they kind of spark up a conversation, and he kind of doesn't really like the Christmas season, and she doesn't either, obviously because of her parents. And so they kind of have this attraction because of that, and they start to form kind of a relationship, and then all of a sudden he just like disappears, poof, and is like out of her life. And so it kind of jumps back from Christmases from different years after that, and how they keep kind of running into each other. And so it's about obviously their relationship, and obviously he has some things he's hiding too, and she has, you know, some things that she's working through with her family and stuff. But it was a good book. I rated this 3 stars. It was a good book, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, you have to read this book. Also, I didn't cry. It was sad, but it was kind of out of left field a little bit. I don't know, from my perspective, maybe someone could have saw this coming, because I knew that something was gonna happen. I just didn't know what, and it was at the very end, kind of threw it in there, happened, done, and I just felt like it could have been better. Could have wrote that part better, I guess. Not write it better, but like introduced it better, spent more time on it, made more of an impact about it. But it was still good. Didn't bawl my eyes out, but if you read reviews about it, people will say that they did. So it was like an average Christmas book, I would say. Well, I will say that it was my favorite Christmas book that I read out of the bunch, so I will give it that. The last book that I read is another one that I love very strongly, and this is The Housemaid. Another 5 stars from me. I've heard a few people talk about this, and I think only one person, I remember only one person saying that she really liked this, but I haven't heard like much else about it at all. Very short, quick read. Like I literally read this, I think, in 2 sittings. It was so good. I had to know, short chapters. It was just so good. This is about a girl, and obviously she becomes a housemaid with this family, and it is an extremely rich wife and husband, and they have 1 little girl. And so she's basically doing everything in the house, like taking care of the little girl, cooking, cleaning, everything you can imagine, running errands. But the thing is that the mom makes her stay up in the attic in a really small room, and she learns that it locks from the outside. And the mom is just really crazy, really demanding, and then she starts, the housemaid kind of starts falling for the husband because she feels bad for him, and he's good looking, all this kind of stuff. So it's her navigating through that. But it had some twists which were really good. I love a good twist. It's not really what you think, but then it's also kind of what you think. And I loved the ending, and I think there might be a second book. I don't know if the second book is a straight continuation from this book or if it's like another aspect similar to this book. I don't know, but I think it's called The Housemaid 2 or something. Let me see, because I just saved it on Goodreads. Okay, it's called The Housemaid's Secret. And again, I don't know, I don't even think it's out yet. But obviously it's by the same author, but again, I don't know if it follows the exact same storyline. But it did end kind of on a hook. I mean, I love kind of endings that keep you guessing, so I usually don't really need a second book because I like when it ends like that. But there could be another book, if you know what I'm saying. But those are all the books that I read in December. I'm really glad I got to share them with you because I felt very strongly about some of them. I definitely suggest those 5-star reads that I said. I loved them so much. I'm excited to be reading more this year. I cannot wait to see how many books I can get through this year and all the booktube videos that I am very excited to create. I have lots of ideas. Let me know some of your favorite reads from 2022 down below. I would love to know. I don't know if I'm gonna make like a video about my favorite reads because I feel like I didn't get into like super hardcore reading until like the middle of the year, so I don't feel like I have too many suggestions. But I would love to know yours if you have any, and I think that's about it. But I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.